the industry depend on us. Without further ado, I'm gonna call upon once more Mr. Moses Shaba, the Executive Director on Human Factors, where he's gonna take us through innovation from a human factor space and other space that you'll want to share with us. Mr. Shaba, the floor is yours. Colleagues, like I said, do not shy to use the question and answer platform provided or the discussion platform provided. Mr. Shaba, we are waiting with anticipation. The floor is yours, sir. I think if you can switch on your mic. If you can unmute your mic, Mr. Shaba, because I can see you are speaking, but we can't hear you.
Oh, it's unmuted.
You are good to go, sir.
Am I good? Have I shared the screen with you?
Yes, if you can just put it on a presentation mode. Thank you, sir. You can.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much, Abraham, for the introduction, and I thank your audience for being present today. My presentation today is the status of railway safety, root cause analysis of occurrences attributed to human factors. I want us to take a pause, reading, and analyze this topic.
Sorry to interject, Mr. Shaba. If you can just be closer to the mic, I think we are struggling to hear you a bit.
Am I audible enough now?
Loudly now. Thank you.
Great. I just wanted, then let me go again. I thank everyone, and I thank everyone for attending this session. My topic today is the status of railway safety, root cause analysis of occurrences attributed to human factors. I want you to underline a few things. The status of railway safety, number one, root cause analysis, occurrences, and human factors. That's all this topic is all about. Is somebody, that's my overview. What this topic is all about, my presentation overview is, we're talking about human factors and workforce here, human workforce in railway operation. I'll discuss the status of railway safety. I'll highlight basic principles in terms of human, in root cause analysis. I'll explain in my presentation why people make mistakes or why people are scapegoated for systems shortfalls. Those are the main aspects that I'll present in this presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, before I do that, I would like to give me one moment. When I was at the Railway Safety Office, when I worked for the RSR, my team conducted research in three focus areas: collision on main line, people struck by train, as well as people struck by train, platform train interface. These reports contain the roots of some of the causes in this industry. And then we also came about, we wrote what we call it a milestone document, the human factor management framework. This document provides a comprehensive overview in terms of guiding principles in terms of human factors. This is a must for all the people to get hold of, all the railway operators. I urge you to get hold of this document because it gives you fundamental principles in terms of the economic issues that you would consider in terms of competency management, vacancy management, workload planning, and management. So I'm urging you guys to be able to get hold of these documents. Let's now look at human workforce and human factors in railway operations. We know that worldwide, railway industry worldwide is human workforce dependent. Human workforce is the key driving force behind all railway operations. Human factors, humans are influencers of railway efficiency and safety. Yes, we know that there is advent of new technologies and rapid movement into fourth industrial revolutions, but nonetheless, humans are a key resource. What I'm saying here then is that human factor issues must be considered at all stages of railway systems life cycle, from the design, from the management, from operation, maintenance, and regulation. If you recall, in industry, in railway operations in the country, be it in South Africa, in the rest of Africa, you find that there are a lot of systems that were imported. They're not even adequately utilized. The question is why? Because they failed to do the basic principle in design, is to consider the user, end user. That's the people that are going to use these technologies. They didn't think of human factors, even at the acquisition stage. There are a lot of white elephants that are not even being utilized in the railway space as we speak now. Millions of lands is being wasted because these people that were supposed to understand the acquisition or the end user, they failed to make those basic requirements first and consider the human that's going to use these systems. And hence, most of the systems are not even adequately utilized today. These so-called add-ons, the old systems operating with the new technologies, they're not working very efficiently, if you think of. So we're saying, please understand the workforce, understand human factors, and understand when these things are integrated from at the beginning. It's much cheaper rather than having to implement these requirements at a later stage. Let's now look at, as I said, this topic is about the status. When you're talking of the status of railway safety, the first thing that comes into your mind, where do you find the status of railway safety? Here we'll be talking about the status of railway safety is always contained in what we call the RSR State of Safety Reports. These, I looked at a couple of these documents and then of these reports. If you can recall, to say in 2014, 2015, it was reported that 60% of the instances of operational incidences are related to human factors. That's what the RSR report said. And then in 2016, 2017, the RSR reported again to say 58% of these operational incidences are as a result of human factors. And 2018, 2019, 2/3, that's 66.7% of the instances or operational instances were attributed to human factors. When you're talking of 2/3, and then I looked at the 2020-21 state of safety. The guys that were writing these reports were shocked to say, no. We cannot have all these incidences, and they kept silent. They didn't indicate how many people are actually being injured or attributed to whatever formula that is used, be it FWI or whatever. People, we're talking of an annual average of over 60% of people in railway industry, as we speak, are injured due to human factor related issues. My question then is, what then? We're talking of 2/3 of the railway population, people that are working in the industry are getting injured due to human factors related issues. You keep silent? Or you put all the resources so that you should reduce the incidences that are attributed to human factors? What do you do? If you ask me that question, I would say, if my wisdom serves me well, I would say, I would put resources so that these incidences, the root causes of these incidences are covered, are identified, and applicable solutions are implemented. Let's look at the root causes. What are the human factor related elements that were identified to be the main contributors to the incidences that are in industry as being highest? Look at this. Negligence. Most of the incidences that were caused as sorry participants for losing some of these are the sort of problems that we have in terms of technology. It was beyond my control, but I was on this very important slide. I said, we're looking at the factors, the human factor elements that contribute to railway occurrences. Negligence was the highest. Lack of supervision, 10%. Lack of effective communication, inadequate training, and non-adherence to train working rules, and some 6% were attributed to so-called people not behaving well. If you look at this, I will not dwell at all these elements. I will come to say, why are people negligent? We must understand to say, if you're talking of people being negligent, is that a reasonable person? What is it that this human behavior has done so that he must be negligent? Lack of supervision is all these things that you think of in terms of managing people, or perhaps if you do not supervise, you don't look after your employees. There are certain things that we're going to go along. But I'll look at negligence, more especially, why are people negligent in the industry? Because this is the highest cause. And then I'll look at some aspects of lack of effective communication. If we proceed, when you're talking of root cause analysis, it's an approach for identifying and underlying causes of an instance so that the most effective solutions can be identified and implemented. Root cause is typically used when something is gone wrong, but it can also be used when something goes well. The biggest challenge that I've seen in most of these railway operations is that we do not share the lessons learned. I think we must have an initiative amongst the railway operators to share the good things. I know the speaker from Gautrain, Sepo, has indicated good things. What are the things that we can learn from them? Similarly, in a lot of good things are happening within Africa. Where is the platform that we can share lessons learned so that the other operators can copy or the things that have done well? You must remember, it's not about something that goes bad, something has that gone well as well. Root cause analysis is fundamentally connected with three basic questions. What is the problem? Why did it happen? Most people, when you come at why did it happen, you're already thinking of this human being that made a mistake. But why did he do that action? So you must ask that question. What will be done to prevent it from happening again? This is to avoid these so-called blame issues, to scapegoat people. Before you even identify all these root causes, you've already fired someone. Those are the things that when I go to investigate incidences and I hear that before even you've dug underneath the root causes, you've already found the blame. My biggest thing that I have seen is the composition of the team that do investigate these incidences, is that when a team comprises of, let's say, top engineers, then engineers will dwell on the mechanics of the systems, and they do not do a systems analysis. That's where the problem is. Root cause, when using the loop map, think of the root not as a single tap. We're talking of a root. A root, the tree is supported by many branches of roots there. So you've got to identify the root causes and apply the principle of a reasonable person to understand why the human took that action or he behaved in that manner, so that you should be able to allow for implementation of practical barriers which consider why human beings make such errors. Fundamentally, to avoid scapegoating. We have, by all means, to avoid scapegoating people. Why do people make mistakes? Making mistakes means someone is learning faster. As this professor of public administration said, if people make mistakes, that simply means a human is learning faster. People get things wrong all the time. We must understand the human being who always make mistakes. Errors are at the heart of the human ability to adapt and master new situations. Even with the most straightforward things, such as reading numbers from a display, people can make a mistake. A mistake is something that gives information about how near a goal is. Unfortunately, there are certain some dire consequences compared to learning issues. These are the mistakes that we're talking here. The incidences that are happening at workplace now in the railway industry, why do they happen? What are the real causes of those? There are three errors that I would want to highlight here. We're talking of skill-based, rule-based, and knowledge-based. These are the three areas that I want to mention in this presentation. Let's start with the skill-based. These are generally regarded as slips and lapses. They typically occur when attention is divided and the human fails to monitor action. There are several types that I could mention, but I'll mention only four. For example, familiarity strips, a number of, we must agree. If I was seeing the audience, they would say, yes, we are talking here. Familiarity strips is when somebody, for example, you're dialing a frequently used number when intended to dial a similar one. You can never say that I have never done that. Similarity strips, I've given you an example here. For example, a TCO might normalize the long points which are on a panel because it is closer to the similar switches. That's where human factors comes in now. If such incidences, errors can be avoided from the design stage, then we'll prevent some of the incidences. Memory lapses, I've given you an example, and I know you've come across many of these incidences. For example, a TCO is distracted. I know of an instance, I don't want to mention it because it wasn't a board of inquiry incident, but we know of an incident that happened. When the TCO attention is distracted during arrangement for a possession and fails to use a reminder appliances as required. This is one of the main things that we must consider to say, these are the things that we must consider. Association strips, for example, a driver reacting to one alarm as if another one was going off. These are the type of errors that we could, from a human factor perspective, could be avoided.
Sorry to interject once more, Dr. Shaba. Due to time, I've allocated extra due to that technical glitch. But we're at the end of our time. If you can then wrap up for us so that we can then get into the discussion. I've seen quite a lot of comments that are going. Just give you an additional 2 minutes that you summarize for us.
Thank you so much. I am almost done. I will do like Sepo did. Knowledge-based performance is especially prone to occurrences. This arises from a lack of knowledge. For example, I'll give you an example of availability bias. A TCO authorizing train movement procedures that are straightforward to implement but fundamentally flawed. Let's hope these errors that I've highlighted here will give you an indication. You see already, Comrade Abram, I'm already concluding here. Human factors is an important in understanding human behavior. Humans are reasonable people and will do whatever it is in their powers to make things work. Without people making shortcuts, sometimes railway operations would not even be running now. Understanding why people make mistakes will help the operator to implement practical solutions. I wanted to introduce human interoperability, but this is a topic that I will present in the next opportunity that I have. I thank you so much for your attention. I hope these technical glitches are going to not last for long. Thank you so
much. Thank you so much, Mr. Moses Shaba. I think it was also very insightful. You would note with the comments that we have recorded on our participation, and thanks to the inputs that has been given. I wish that we could have more time, or probably arrange a lecture as a formal lecture that you take us through an in-depth education around this subject. It's very interesting, and I just want to just go through the comments and questions that are on the floor. There is one that talks about how effective is consequences management to the management of human factors. Consequence management.
Who is posing that question? Mr. Mabila?
It comes from Dr. Matebula.
Hey, Comrade Mabila, you could ask me that question. Hey, Comrade. Thank you so much, Mr. Mabila. Consequences management, you see, people have not learned of the consequence management. That's the railway operators must take responsibility of all these incidences that are happening. They haven't implemented that one. It's up to you, the railway safety regulator, to educate these people how they could have consequence management. Consequence management cannot be done by a railway safety operator. It has got to be done by the management, the operator themselves. I hope, Comrade Mabila, you can be able. Do you like these questions before you hear the presentation or not?
Thank you, Tate Bashava. And there's another one, I think, from Mr. Tefo Katle. I think it's a comment. I don't know if it's a question, but I'll read it for you so that if you want to add more, you can. He says, ordinarily, default operation systems are based on human intervention. Engineering systems are heavily impacted by theft and vandalism, as well as under utilization of technology. Your opinion or input in that, Mr. Mashaba?
I am so happy that all these comrades, I know them quite well. I thank you so much, Tefo, Comrade Tefo. I always called him Comrade Tefo. That's just a comment. There's no answer. But I must say thank you for your contribution, because those are the things that we must consider at all stages of the design.
Thank you. I think the last one that is also of quite interest is from Mr. Chris DeVore. He says, easy to blame negligence, but train drivers have been working under abnormal authorization for years now. No support system on locals to assist them should they do something wrong. like spares. Other countries have automatic train stop system. We do not have anything like that, I guess, in South Africa. Why do train drivers perform 99% on safety, but within metro, it then becomes a terrible thing?
Mr. Foss, he was one of the board members at our railway safety operator, so he should understand to say it's easy to blame negligence, but our railway system networks, they've on-ground systems. Even you, Abraham, understand to say we are putting add-on technologies on systems that actually are not compatible. There are a lot of challenges with these so-called add-ons on our systems. That's why many of the instances are happening, because we do not have a systems approach in terms of design. If human factors were considered at the beginning of inception, most of these things would have been sorted long time, Mr. Foss. So, human being is always blamed for all things. Systems that go wrong, a human being will be blamed for nothing. We must look at the systems approach. If you make changes to one thing in a human system, you must consider other things as well. People are only doing sort of like sport maintenance. You must think at what are the consequences if I do this? Will it change the value chain? And people are not doing that. That's where many instances are still happening, and they will still happen unless human factors is considered very seriously. And unfortunately, I see that people are being scapegoated. Our operators, our workforce is being scapegoated, but these people are working so hard to make trains run. So we must understand that challenge.
Thank you for that. I think the take that we are taking a system approach, taking a human factor at the beginning of design, as you have expressed. We thank you for that insightful presentation, and our apology for the technical glitches to yourself as well as our participants. I encourage our participants to continue to rate our speakers. There is a provision